A judge in the Home Circuit Court on Thursday ruled that Omar and alleged contract killer Michael Adams both have a case to answer. The men are on trial for the murders of Collimore's wife, 32-year-old businesswoman Simone Collymore, and her taxi driver Winston Walters, who were gunned down in January 2018.
Pay attention to this video. A taxi pulls up to an apartment gate. Inside sits a 32-year-old mother of two, heading home after dropping her kids off with their father. She has no idea that two motorcycles have been following her. The security guard walks toward the gate to let them in. Everything seems normal. Then, in seconds, everything changes. Two men jump off the motorcycles. They're holding guns. They run toward the taxi, one on each side. The driver has nowhere to go. The woman in the back seat has no time to scream. What happens next is caught on camera. 19 shots fired in broad daylight. The taxi crashes through the gate. Blood everywhere, 2 people dead. You know the person who ordered the hit? Her own husband, the man who promised to love and protect her. And the most terrifying part? This wasn't his first time. How does someone kill twice and almost get away with it? Stick around, because what you're about to hear will shock you. Welcome to Crazy Dark Files. Right now, there are thousands of women trapped in relationships with men who see them as nothing more than a payday. If you want to help spread awareness about the warning signs of domestic violence and financial abuse that could save innocent lives, then please like this video, share it, and subscribe to this channel. Your action now could help protect another woman who might be in danger. Before we get into the darkness of what happened, you need to know who Simone Campbell really was. Simone was born and raised in Jamaica. She grew up like many young girls on the island, full of dreams and determination. She attended Millgrove High School, where she wasn't just focused on her books, but Simone loved basketball. She was athletic, energetic, and always had a smile on her face. Friends remember her as someone who lit up every room she walked into. She was the kind of person people wanted to be around. But Simone had bigger plans than just staying in her hometown. She wanted more out of life. She dreamed of becoming an entrepreneur, of building something for herself and her future family. So when the opportunity came, she moved to the United States to chase those dreams. In the U.S., Simone enrolled at Nova Southeastern University. She was serious about her education and her future. She worked hard, stayed focused, and kept pushing forward. This was a woman who knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to go after it. Eventually, Simone moved back to Jamaica, and that's when her dreams really started to come true. She became a successful businesswoman, building her own company from the ground up. People who knew her described her as the consummate wife, mother, and businesswoman. Her family called her the centerpiece of their lives. Everything revolved around Simone because she held everyone together. She was a devoted mother to her 2 children. No matter how busy she got with work, her kids always came first. She made sure they were loved, cared for, and had everything they needed. She was hands-on, always present, always there. Simone was also deeply connected to her parents. She loved them with all her heart. In fact, just weeks before her death, Simone threw a birthday party for them. There's even a video of her singing happy birthday to her mom and dad, smiling, laughing, surrounded by the people she loved most. Watching that video now, knowing what was coming, is heartbreaking. This was a woman who had everything to live for: a thriving business, beautiful children, a loving family, a bright future ahead of her. But there was one person in her life who didn't see her the way everyone else did. One person who didn't value her love, her loyalty, or her life. One person who saw her as nothing more than an opportunity, a way to make money. And that person was the man she married, the man she trusted, the man who was supposed to protect her. His name was Omar Collymore, and by the time Simone realized the kind of man he really was, it was already too late. In 2005, while Simone was living in the United States, she met a man named Omar Collymore. Everyone called him Best, and at first he seemed like he lived up to that nickname. Omar was originally from Barbados, but he had also moved to the U.S. He was charming, smooth talker, the kind of guy who knew exactly what to say to make you feel special. Simone was drawn to him. They became friends quickly, and before long, that friendship turned into something more. But there was one problem. Omar was already in a relationship. Her name was Angela Aguilar. She was 38 years old, a successful real estate agent, and she had money. Angela had 2 sons. One lived with her and the other lived with his father in New York. She was doing well for herself. She was independent. She was wealthy. Now here's where things get strange. Instead of choosing between the 2 women, Omar did something most people would never do. He introduced Simone and Angela to each other, and somehow both women agreed to the arrangement. According to people who knew them, they were both okay with sharing Omar. He told them he loved them both, and for a while it seemed like everyone was fine with it. But Omar had a plan that neither woman knew about. In early 2008, Omar took out a life insurance policy on Angela, a big one, worth over $1 million. Then, on June 29, 2008, something terrible happened. Omar claimed that he and Angela were out together that day. He said they were in the car when he got out to tie his shoelaces. While he was kneeling down, he heard gunshots. He said he looked up and saw a homeless white man wearing loose clothes and a headband. The man fired shots into the car, then ran off. When Omar got back to the car, Angela was dead. She had been shot twice, once in the chest and once in the neck. Omar told the police his story. They investigated. But here's the thing. No homeless man was ever found. No suspect was ever arrested. No one matching that description was ever identified. The case went cold. 2 years later, in 2010, Omar filed a claim for Angela's life insurance. After some legal back and forth, he was awarded $400,000. The rest of the money went to Angela's son, Elijah. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever heard of a case where someone got away with murder only to strike again? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're from Jamaica or have followed this case, let me know what you think really happened. After Angela's death, Simone and Omar grew even closer. With Angela out of the picture, there was nothing standing in their way. They decided to start fresh. They moved to Jamaica together, got married, and started a family. Simone gave birth to their children, and for a while it looked like they were building a happy life. But if you've been paying attention, you already know where this is going. Because Omar had done this before. He had convinced a woman to take out a life insurance policy. He had been there when she was shot and killed. He had collected the money, and he had walked away without ever being charged. And now he was married to Simone. At first, things seemed good between Simone and Omar. They had their kids. Simone's business was doing well. They had a home. From the outside, it looked like a normal family. But behind closed doors, things were falling apart. Omar started complaining about Simone's appearance. He told her she was too big. He said he wasn't attracted to her anymore. He made her feel like she wasn't good enough, like she needed to change if she wanted to keep him. And Simone, being the kind of woman who wanted to make her marriage work, tried everything. She worked out, she changed her diet, she did whatever she could to fix herself, hoping it would make Omar happy again, hoping it would save their marriage. But it didn't matter what she did, because Omar's problem wasn't really about how Simone looked. His problem was that he didn't care about her at all. While Simone was trying to save their marriage, Omar was cheating, constantly. He was spending time with other women, spending money on them, and showing them the attention he refused to give his own wife. And speaking of money, remember that $400,000 Omar got from Angela's life insurance? He was burning through it, fast. He spent it carelessly on women, on himself, on things that had nothing to do with his family. When Simone asked him where all the money was coming from, Omar lied. He told her it was from an accident settlement he received back when he was living in New York. Simone had no reason not to believe him. She didn't know about Angela. Or if she did, she didn't know the full story. And then Omar did something that should have set off every alarm bell. He convinced Simone to take out a life insurance policy on herself. A big one, just like he had done with Angela. Simone trusted him. She thought they were planning for their future, protecting their kids in case something happened. She had no idea what Omar was really planning. As time went on, the marriage got worse. Omar's cheating didn't stop. His disrespect didn't stop. Simone was tired. She was hurt. She was done. So she made a decision. She took the kids and left. Simone moved out and focused on what mattered most, her children and her family. She spent time with her parents. She poured herself into her business. She was rebuilding her life without Omar. For most people, that would be the end of the story. A woman leaves a bad marriage, takes her kids, and moves on. But Omar wasn't most people. Because here's the thing, Simone was worth more to Omar dead than alive. She had a life insurance policy, a big one, and Omar knew that if something happened to her, he would be the one to collect. So even though Simone had left him, even though she was trying to move on with her life, Omar wasn't done with her. He had already done this once before. He had already gotten away with it, and now he was about to do it again. Simone had no idea that every time she dropped the kids off at Omar's house, she was walking into danger. She had no idea that Omar was making plans, that he was talking to people, that he was setting everything up. And on January 2nd, 2018, those plans were put into action. Simone went to Omar's house to drop off the kids. It was supposed to be a normal visit. The kids would spend time with their dad and Simone would go home. But just minutes after she left Omar's house, everything changed. Because Omar had made a phone call. And that phone call set off a chain of events that would end with Simone lying dead in the street, shot 19 times in broad daylight. And this time, it was all caught on camera. January 2nd, 2018 started like any other day for Simone. She had plans to drop the kids off at Omar's house so they could spend time with their father. Even though the marriage was over, Simone still wanted her children to have a relationship with their dad. She arrived at Omar's house that afternoon. The kids went inside. Simone stayed for a little while, then said her goodbyes. She had things to do. She called a taxi to take her back home. The driver's name was Winston Walters. He was 36 years old, just a regular guy trying to make a living. He had no idea that accepting this ride would cost him his life. Simone got into the back seat of the blue Toyota Corolla. Winston started driving. Everything seemed normal. Just another fare, just another trip across town. But they were being followed. 2 motorcycles had been waiting, and the moment the taxi pulled away from Omar's house, those motorcycles started trailing them. Simone didn't notice. Winston didn't notice. They had no reason to think anything was wrong. The taxi made its way through the streets of Kingston, heading toward Simone's apartment complex on Stanley Terrace in Red Hills. At exactly 3:56 p.m., the car pulled up to the entrance gate. A security guard started walking over to let them in. The 2 motorcycles pulled up behind them and stopped a short distance away. Then everything happened fast. 2 men jumped off the motorcycles. Both of them were holding guns. No masks, no hesitation. They ran straight toward the taxi. One man went to the driver's side, the other went to the passenger side. And then they opened fire. The man on the driver's side yanked open Winston's door and started shooting. The other man fired through the passenger window, aiming directly at Simone in the back seat. The sound of gunshots echoed through the street. 19 shots in total. 19. Simone was hit over and over again. Bullets tore through her chest, her abdomen, her face. Her lung was destroyed, her liver was destroyed, her right kidney was destroyed. She didn't stand a chance. Winston Walters was shot 5 times. One of those bullets went straight through his head. He was dead before he even knew what was happening. The taxi, with no one controlling it anymore, crashed through the gate and rolled forward before coming to a stop. One of the gunmen reached into the car and grabbed Simone's handbag. They wanted it to look like a robbery, like this was just a random attack, just another violent crime in Kingston. Then the two men ran back to their motorcycles and sped off. The whole thing was over in seconds. But here's the thing, it was all caught on camera. The apartment complex had a CCTV system, and every single moment of the attack was recorded. The motorcycles following the taxi, the two men jumping off, the guns being drawn, the shooting, the handbag being taken, everything. When that footage was played in court years later, the courtroom went silent. Simone's mother couldn't take it. She got up and left the room in tears. She couldn't watch her daughter being murdered again. Simone's father sat with his head down, his wife holding him, trying to comfort him. But there was no comfort for what they were seeing. And Omar was sitting in the defendant's box, and he started crying. He was sniffling, wiping his nose with his hand, taking off his glasses to wipe his eyes. But here's the question. Was he crying because he felt guilty? Or was he crying because he knew he was caught? Back at the scene, the aftermath was horrific. Simone's body was still in the back seat of the taxi. Blood was everywhere. On the seats, on the doors, on the roadway. The windshield was completely shattered. Bullet casings were scattered all over the ground. The security guard who had been walking over to open the gate stood frozen, trying to process what he had just witnessed. Police and paramedics arrived, but there was nothing they could do. Simone Campbell Collymore, a 32-year-old mother of two, was dead. Winston Walters, a father just trying to make a living, was dead. 2 lives taken in broad daylight, 2 families destroyed. And for what? Money. Because that's all this was about. Omar didn't kill Simone out of anger or passion. He killed her because she was worth more to him dead than alive. He had done it before with Angela, and now he had done it again with Simone. But this time there was a difference. This time it was all on camera. This time the killers' faces were visible. This time there was no way to hide. And this time Omar wasn't going to get away with it. After Simone's murder, the police moved fast. They had the CCTV footage, they had witnesses, they had evidence. And they knew this wasn't a random robbery. But Omar tried to play the grieving husband. He went to the police and told them he was devastated. He said he couldn't believe someone would do this to his wife. He even filed a claim with Allied Insurance to collect on Simone's life insurance policy. But then Omar did something that made investigators even more suspicious. He claimed that he was being targeted too. Omar told police that while he was at the Allied Insurance office on Balmain Road dropping off paperwork for Simone's claim, 2 men were waiting for him in the parking lot. He said they got out of their car when he arrived, and he believed they were the same people who killed Simone. He said they were trying to kill him too. It was a performance, a bad one. Omar wanted everyone to think he was a victim, that whoever killed Simone was now coming after him, but investigators weren't buying it. Because here's the thing, if someone really wanted Omar dead, why didn't they just kill him? Why wait in a parking lot and then do nothing? It didn't make sense. And the more the police looked into Omar's story, the more it fell apart. Then, on January 27, 2018, Omar made a move that confirmed everyone's suspicions. He tried to leave the country. Omar went to Norman Manley International Airport with a fake passport, trying to flee Jamaica. But police were already watching him. They arrested him right there at the airport. And here's the kicker, this was January 27th. Simone's funeral was the next day. Omar was trying to run the day before his own wife's funeral. That's when investigators knew for sure Omar wasn't a grieving husband, he was a killer trying to escape. While Omar was sitting in jail, police were tracking down the men who actually pulled the triggers. It didn't take long. One by one they were arrested. The first to break was a man named Wade Blackwood. He was 24 years old and he was one of the shooters. When police brought him in, he confessed everything. Blackwood told investigators that his brother was part of a gang called the Unruly Gang, which operated out of Brook Valley in Duhaney Park. His brother had been caught with a gun and went to prison because of it. Then, a man named Jim came to Blackwood and told him that the gun his brother was caught with actually belonged to Jim. And to pay off that debt, Blackwood had to kill someone. Jim told him, "If you don't do it, I'm going to kill you, your mother, or someone else in your family." Blackwood said he didn't have a choice. But here's where it gets even more interesting. During that conversation, another man was there. His name was Michael Adams. And Adams said something that made it clear what this was really about. Adams said, "The lady have to dead, else dem can't get the money." The lady, Simone. Adams was getting phone calls from someone who was giving him instructions, someone who was telling him when Simone was leaving the house, someone who was coordinating the whole thing. That someone was Omar. Blackwood said they actually tried to kill Simone the day before on January 1st. They followed her taxi, got close, but Blackwood got nervous. He said he looked into the car and thought, what if this was my mother? So he told Jim they had to go back. The mission was aborted. But Jim and Adams weren't happy. They pressured Blackwood. They threatened him again. And they told him they would try again the next day. On January 2nd, Adams got another phone call. He told the others, "The man who gave the contract said we have to move now. The lady is about to leave." They followed Simone's taxi, and this time they didn't hesitate. Blackwood and Jim carried out the hit. Simone and Winston were killed, and one of the shooters grabbed Simone's handbag to make it look like a robbery. After his confession, Wade Blackwood pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences for the murders, plus an additional 8.5 years for illegal possession of a firearm. Jim, the other shooter, was later killed by police. But the mastermind, the man who made the phone calls, who set everything up, who stood to gain from Simone's death, was still alive. And his name was Omar Collymore. The trial of Omar Collymore and his co-accused took years to reach its conclusion. But when it finally did, justice, at least partially, was served. Wade Blackwood, the shooter who confessed and cooperated with investigators, was the first to be sentenced. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder for the deaths of Simone Campbell Collymore and Winston Walters. The judge handed down 2 life sentences. On top of that, Blackwood received an additional 8.5 years for illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition. Blackwood's confession was key to building the case against the others. Without his testimony, investigators might never have known the full extent of the conspiracy. Michael Adams, Dwayne Pink, and Shaquille Edwards, the men who helped plan and coordinate the murder, were also arrested and charged. Their trials continued as the legal system worked to hold everyone involved accountable. As for Jim, the other shooter who fired alongside Blackwood that day, he never made it to trial. According to reports, Jim was killed by police in a separate incident. His real identity was never fully confirmed in court. And then there was Omar. For years, Omar sat in jail, maintaining his innocence. He played the role of the heartbroken husband. He cried in court, he acted shocked when evidence was presented, but the facts didn't lie. The CCTV footage, the phone records, Wade Blackwood's testimony, the life insurance policy, the fake passport, the staged attack at the insurance office, everything pointed to one conclusion. Omar Collymore had planned and paid for his wife's murder. In May 2024, after a lengthy trial, the verdict finally came. Omar Collymore was found guilty of orchestrating the murder of Simone Campbell Collymore. When the verdict was read, the courtroom was filled with emotion. Simone's family, who had waited over 6 years for this moment, broke down in tears. Her mother, who had already endured watching the CCTV footage of her daughter's murder, wept openly. Her father sat quietly, his face a mixture of grief and relief. Omar, on the other hand, showed little reaction. No more fake tears, no more performances. He just sat there, knowing that his plan had failed, knowing that this time he wouldn't get away with it. The judge's words were clear and firm. Omar had betrayed the woman who loved him. He had used her trust against her. He had turned her into a target for hired killers. And he had done it all for money. The same money he had collected once before, when Angela Aguilar was killed under suspicious circumstances. The courtroom was a place of pain, but it was also a place of justice. Simone's family finally had answers. They finally knew the truth, and they finally saw the man responsible held accountable. But no verdict, no sentence, no amount of justice could bring Simone back. It couldn't undo the trauma her children experienced. It couldn't erase the image of her lying in that taxi, shot 19 times. It couldn't give her parents their daughter back. Justice was served, but the damage was already done. Still, for Simone's family, this was a victory. A hard-fought, painful victory. Because in a world where so many killers walk free, where so many cases go unsolved, Omar Collimore would spend the rest of his life behind bars. And that, at least, was something. Simone Campbell Collimore was only 32 years old when she was murdered. She had her whole life ahead of her. She was a loving mother who put her children first, no matter what. She was a successful businesswoman who built something from nothing. She was the heart of her family. The person everyone turned to, the person who held everyone together. She loved her parents deeply. She celebrated their birthdays with joy. She sang to them, laughed with them, made memories with them, and just weeks later, they had to bury her. Her children will grow up without their mother. They'll have to live with the knowledge that their father, the man who was supposed to protect them, was the one who took her away. That's the real tragedy here. Not just that Simone was killed, but that she was killed by someone she trusted, someone she built a life with, someone she gave everything to. Omar Collimore didn't see Simone as a person. He didn't see her as a wife, a mother, or a partner. He saw her as an opportunity, a way to make money, just like he did with Angela. And when Simone was no longer useful to him, when she left and started building a life without him, he decided she was worth more dead than alive. That kind of evil is hard to understand, but it's real, and it's out there. Simone's story is a reminder that domestic violence doesn't always look the way we expect. It's not always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's financial, and sometimes it's deadly. But Simone's story is also a reminder that justice is possible. It took years. It took pain. It took her family reliving the worst day of their lives over and over again in court. But in the end, Omar was held accountable. Let's honor Simone's memory by staying aware, by speaking up when we see the warning signs, by supporting victims who are trying to leave, and by never forgetting that behind every true crime story is a real person who deserved better. Rest in peace, Simone Campbell Collimore. You deserved so much more. Thank you for watching Crazy Dark Files. If you found this story impactful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.